What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Baker's DIY Lifestyle. So in today's video we are doing a job for our company, the Hickory Handyman, and we are working for a church parsonage that we thought was going to be a kind of small job, but it ballooned into something pretty disastrous the more we got into it. So we checked out this house about 6 months prior to us starting on this job. We gave the guy a quote, and then our schedules and the church and everything just didn't really line up. So by the time we finally got a chance to get back to it, we realized that we were in for a lot more issues than what we had originally planned. So long story short, they thought they had a leak fixed around their chimney, but the leak of course was not fixed, as you can see here, which is the reason why we're up on the roof. And today what we're going to be doing is our very first cricket. So this is one thing that we have never done before. Of course, we are not roofers by trade, so it was a fun thing to learn, a fun project to start on, and we were happy that we were able to get everything fixed for them. So again, this is not necessarily a how-to, it is how we did it, but if you see anything wrong, if you're a professional roofer or you have any tips or tricks or things that you see that we might have done incorrectly, definitely leave them in the comment section below, because again, every job we do, we learn a little bit. We like to learn as we go. And yeah, so here we go. So as you can see, our first course of action was just getting all of the old stuff off the roof. We pulled all of the shingles around the area that we thought we were going to have to replace. The original roof here was a 412 pitch, and what we were going to do was just match that pitch for the cricket. But because this chimney is so wide, I believe this thing was about 8 feet wide. One of the members on the church committee is a contractor himself, and he wanted us to go ahead and put an 812 pitch on the chimney, just so there was even more of a slope for the water to shed. So you'll see here, once we got our repair done, we went ahead and we're going to have to remove some more shingles. And down at the bottom there, we were doing all the math and trying to figure out how to do all of the roof cuts and the rafter cuts and all that stuff. And of course, I spent a lot of time on YouTube watching other people's videos that do a much better job of explaining what we're doing than what we did here. So anyway, we did all of the math. We finally got all the boards cut. And again, we sat them up here just to see exactly how many shingles we thought we were going to have to remove. This building, being over 100 years old, had a nice 3-tab roof on it, which we found out are very hard to come by now. So luckily our local ABC supply company had some 3-tab shingles that I do believe were, if they weren't the exact same color, they were really close. And of course, nothing you put on is ever going to match because these are weathered and faded and everything else. But anyway, we got our cricket frame built here, and we got our 2 pieces of plywood put on. So you saw we put the tar paper down underneath the cricket and kind of got that resealed. And then here we went down with some ice and water shield to really give us some extra security in the corners here where there would be a chance of the water puddling up. So that was really the biggest issue with this chimney was, you know, back in the 20s, whenever this house was built, that was something that they didn't really think about, was just the water puddling against the chimney. And that particular section right there that you just watched, I just want to touch on. I did the stick-on flashing because we had to leave for the weekend, so we knew that we weren't going to be able to get the shingles on. So that was just temporary, just in case you're wondering. But here you can see we're back and we're putting the shingles on. And we are going over that aluminum flashing, and we will be doing our traditional step flashing that you can see there behind me. Again, with some counter flashing on top of that. So one of the biggest things we had to learn here as we were laying our shingles was how to overlap the shingles and make sure that they were long enough so that every subsequent shingle would shed on top of the one below it. Because going from an 812 into a 412, your shingles aren't going to lap perfectly straight. So the higher we got, the more offset they got, to the point where we ended up having to put 2 rows from one side across the top of each other instead of just a perfect left, right, left, right, left, right, if that makes any sense. But anyway, once we kind of figured that out, we went back and forth with some trial and error, made some good cuts. And one of the things that we did with the roof where we were attaching to the old roof, since we compromised the tar of the piece that was old, we ended up taking some roofing adhesive and sealant, and we applied it to the old tar strip on the older pieces. So I've heard roofers say before, and other people, that there's no such thing as a proper roof repair because of the way shingles are engineered. Anytime you rip them up, you are essentially creating a gap or a hole or a section where the roof has a chance for water to penetrate. So that was our main thing. Anywhere we relaid an old shingle or we were putting the new shingles underneath, we tried to make sure we glued and had put some adhesive down just to ensure that the shingles wouldn't blow up in the future. So here you can kind of see we're going through the same exact process as we did on the other side. And of course we learned a little bit on the other side, so we were kind of rocking and rolling here. But you'll see as we go, we just lay the shingles down to verify that our overlap is proper. And you can see going up, I made sure I had our step flashing against the chimney itself as well. So hopefully there's nothing too fancy or confusing about this part. It's really just trial and error. And once you get in a groove, you can figure out how to do this yourself, no problem at all. So as we finish up here, you'll see us getting to that top part where my brother's foot is. And what we wanted to do was run our top tab all the way across and make sure that was the final piece of shingle that we had to lay down. I do believe our top pieces here ran up underneath one of the old pieces, and then we had to put one final long new piece in order to make sure the roof shed right on top of that cap there. Yeah, you can see right here putting that last piece in. So once you get all of that done, we'll come back in and we will put our counter flashing. So this is an extra layer of flashing that will ensure that water comes down the chimney, goes across your step flashing, and then onto the roof. So you actually have two different layers of flashing, which I believe is more of a standard practice now than it used to be. But you can see right here, Dylan was cutting out the corners while I was bending them. And we started on our corners because you want to go from the bottom up. So knowing that we have our corner wrapped right there, then we were able to take our next piece of counter flashing and we will run it up the side of the brick. So the way we did it was we ended up bending it and we cut it pretty close to size so that we could lay it against the chimney, make a line, and then we grooved out the brick in order to have a place for that bent channel to go into the brick. So one thing you'll notice on a lot of these older houses, and exactly how this one was as well, is they do not cut into the brick, or sometimes they'll run their step flashing with the brick, which would be okay, and cut it in, but then there would be no counter flashing. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do the flashing. I think the best thing to do honestly is kind of figure out how your chimney looks. Being that this one was stone and brick and the brick wasn't evenly stacked, this was definitely the best method to ensure that we had a proper seal all the way around the chimney. Again, if you need more help on this, you can definitely leave a comment down below and I will answer your question. But I would probably also refer to some actual roofers if you have any questions about what we are doing here. So you can see, of course, we've got one side done. Dylan is going ahead and grinding the other side of the brick here. The only thing you really need to make sure is that your flashing fits into the groove and you have enough room to get a good bead of sealant inside of that groove before you put your flashing into it. So again, that flashing with the sealant will ensure that no water gets in behind your brick or behind your shingles and create any problems in the future. So this was another fun thing for us to figure out, was all the angles on the flashing. Again, I'm not going to tell you how I did it. It was just a lot of trial and error and figuring it out. But we prevailed and we came up with a perfect looking bend. You can see it wraps around the corner at the bottom. It wraps across the top. And we ended up gluing everything in, getting it nice and sealed. And hopefully we have no issues.